Before you listen, if you enjoy the stories and want to hear more, then please consider subscribing. Most of you listening aren't subscribed, so please take this time to subscribe. Turn on notifications so you'll never miss a story and be the first to hear. You'll also be supporting me. Thank you. Curled up on the couch, I studied Jenny's face bathed in the glow of the laptop screen as some sappy rom-com played. It was our Friday night sleepover ritual. Face masks, fuzzy pajamas, and endless giggles over bowls of popcorn and candy. At 12 years old, these weekends with my bestie felt like the height of existence. My parents were out late celebrating their anniversary dinner while Jenny's mom worked the night shift at the hospital. So we lay tangled like puppies in blankets, relishing the precious freedom of a whole evening without parents or curfew. Around 9 p.m., though, over the credits music swelling triumphantly, an unexpected knock interrupted our silly debate on ideal celebrity boyfriends. We both paused, staring wide-eyed at each other through dangling strands of seaweed hair mask. "You order pizza," Jenny whispered. I shook my head slowly. We weren't expecting anyone, and the knock sounded too dull and heavy-handed for an average food delivery. Before I could even untangle my legs from the blanket, a loud voice called from outside. "Open up. I've got sweets out here for 2 sweet little girls." Jenny recoiled at the strange, muffled words as my lungs seized up in fear. We definitely didn't know this man's low, gravelly voice or why he'd be showing up unannounced so late brandishing candy. I scrambled off the couch and flicked the front light off as Jenny dove under her mom's hand-crocheted blanket, trembling. We huddled close as the man knocked again, louder this time. "Come on now, no need to be shy. I've got chocolates, cupcakes, everything a growing girl needs. Just open up." Dread coursed through me at the thought of some anonymous male visitor beckoning us outside in the dark with eerie promises of sweets. As Jenny whimpered under the blanket, I backed us both slowly toward my room down the hall to get away from the rattling front door. The man continued his strange cajoling, saying he knew our parents were gone all night, so we must be hungry and bored alone inside. Bile rose in my throat, realizing he spoke true, unknowable details, affirming the stranger indeed sought us specifically with some nefarious motive. Once hidden away in my room, we clung to each other, shaking as the knocking continued sharply against the front door. His muffled pleas soon morphed to frustrated threats that he just wanted to be friendly, but we were forcing his hand now. Jenny buried her head against my shoulder to block out the sound as angry pounds echoed through the house. Soon we heard the distinctive scratch of metal on metal. Breath frozen in terrified lungs, I accepted our flimsy lock would soon give way to this determined monster. Driven by primal protective instinct toward my trembling best friend, I shoved Jenny under my bed, then crawled in behind her as a last resort. We forced ragged breaths through raw throats, dust burning our noses as we squeezed limbs tightly together. Maybe if we stayed perfectly silent and unseen, this evil would simply pass by. But soon heavy footsteps clomped down the hall as floorboards creaked under unfamiliar weight. Jenny's nails dug painfully into my wrist as she stifled panicked sobs. The footsteps halted right outside my bedroom, the stale reek of liquor and body odor assaulting our hiding spot as ragged breathing sounded inches away. Frozen in wide-eyed horror, we couldn't even whimper, knowing discovery likely sealed our fates this horrible night. After a few agonizing minutes just out of sight, the shadowy figure grunted in frustration, then stomped toward my parents' downstairs bedroom. Once the footsteps faded, I nudged Jenny urgently. This could be our one chance to scramble for a safer hiding spot while he searched the empty master suite. Jenny shook her head frantically, not wanting to abandon our cramped haven. But knowing discovery remained imminent, I tugged her arm firmly until she submitted. On hands and knees, we skittered like frightened mice across my bedroom floor, then tiptoed light as air down the hall. The footsteps tromped back up the basement stairs, so I shoved Jenny ahead of me into my mom's walk-in closet. We burrowed deep behind musty fur coats as the heavy boots thudded directly toward our new refuge. Hardly daring to inhale, we huddled wide-eyed in shelf shadows, praying the scared doors would disguise our outline. After a few agonizing minutes, the intruder continued his fruitless room-to-room hunt for his intended prey. As soon as his shadow disappeared into the guest room, I dug out my phone with numb fingers. Shaking violently, I silenced the device and typed those magical 3 numbers to summon saviors against the unknown evil invading our sanctuary. Within minutes of that call crackling through trembling lips, police sirens split the air outside like the sweet song of angels. We sobbed in dizzy relief as multiple officers swept in shouting clear commands that sent heavy boots pounding away in cowardly retreat once and for all. Wrapped in shock blankets, Jenny and I clung fiercely to each other and the stalwart officers now guarding us fiercely from all shadowy harm. Back at the station later giving our statements, we learned that Prowler was a known predator in the area who targeted vulnerable young girls home alone. As we gave each detail, the seasoned officers shook their heads gravely, remarking how lucky we were to have such sharp survival instincts and quick-thinking teamwork. Though the terror of that traumatic night permanently stripped away any last vestiges of childhood innocence, it awakened the warrior spirit inside instead. Dragging my backpack up the front walk after a tedious day of high school drama, I dug for my house key only to stop short. The heavy oak door stood slightly ajar, late afternoon sunlight slanting through the gap. That's weird, I thought, nudging it wider. Mom usually kept the door locked tight, whether home or out running errands. Mom? Dad? I called tentatively. No answer. Silence blanketed the foyer. Figuring they must have rushed out for a quick grocery run, I dropped my bag on the floor and headed for the kitchen. Maybe a note lay on the counter explaining the open door so I wouldn't worry. But no scribbled message waited to reassure me. Unease tickled my spine as I peered out back windows just in case. The cars all sat parked in the driveway, ruled out absent grocery errands. Guys, hello. I shouted up the staircase next. Still no reply. Shaking off the strangeness, I decided they must be visiting the neighbors or on a quick walk before I got home from school. I headed upstairs to change, exhaustion from a pop quiz melting worries away. But I made sure to pull my bedroom door tightly shut out of lingering habit. As I started peeling off my school uniform, rustling sounds outside the door made me freeze. Had Mom and Dad come home early without calling out? But the furtive scratches were too subtle, lacking familiar footsteps. I held my breath, ears straining toward the hallway. After a few seconds of silence, I exhaled and finished changing, internally scolding myself for letting movies give me the creeps. But as I looped a necklace clasp behind my neck a few minutes later, a definite heavy thump hit the hallway floorboards, followed by breathing. All my senses prickled with primordial fear, recognizing the human weight of close proximity. Before I could bolt my flimsy lock shut, quick late footsteps, too muted for Dad's slippered tread, pounded the hallway runner, then descended stairs 2 at a time by the strained creaking protests. I stood stunned and shirtless as reality hit my whirling brain with nauseating force. Someone had been hiding unseen the entire time I called out cheerily to empty rooms, an interloper pocketing sick enjoyment while I chattered about my day, utterly oblivious that only a thin door separated me from what exactly? Sudden certainty struck that had I not paused to fuss with my necklace, that door would have flung violently open. Hot tears sprang forth, imagining the horror of whoever or whatever waited with bated breath just inches from my half-naked form, interrupted so opportunely by a slight jewelry delay. Luck alone spared me some unspeakable fate once that stalking voyeur knew parents were absent. Hands quaking badly, I managed to redress and stumbled to the hallway phone. But doubting my unseen visitor actually fled such appealing prey, I sagged in momentary defeat. Police dispatch confirmed units on the way, but cautioned me to seek safe shelter immediately. Thus began an endless 15-minute crouch inside my cramped closet, ears burning for any sound of approach as the world's longest minutes ticked by. At long last, the cavalry arrived in a blare of crackling radios and heavy boots tromping through rooms. After a quick protective sweep, broad-shouldered officers clustered around my trembling form, spilling out waves of relief and answering questions in a barrage. Once the statement finished, the lead inspector described my unseen watcher as likely some drifter assessing scope for quick burglary, then startled to realize the house not as empty as hoped. The clinical analysis oddly calmed the nightmare quality swirling around me. This was just a routine break-in interrupted, no complex premeditation to exact twisted desires upon lone prey. Still, weeks later I shuddered envisioning more pies trailing me in presumed isolation right within my own peaceful walls. All sense of safe solitude or anonymity while home alone had been permanently shattered. Soon after, we installed top-of-the-line security complete with movement sensors and cameras enclosing the property in an invisible yet powerful net of constant vigilance. Never again could any hungry vagrant cross our threshold protected by round-the-clock surveillance. Gradually, fear relinquished its icy grip on my throat when home alone thanks to ever-present electronic guardians. Peace returned eventually as well through time and distance from that horrible afternoon. But deep down, I understood a basic innocence was forever lost by concept of home evolving from carefree haven into vigilant fortress against the world's random cruelty. Where once a latch left accidentally unlocked seemed a harmless domestic oversight, now the vulnerability of an unsecured entrance chilled me to the core. Behind sturdy doors and reassuring screens, youthful laughter again echoed brightly throughout the house. But never again could its cherished walls block out darker knowledge that monsters may lurk unseen, concealed by the very structures designed as shelter. Curled in my favorite patch armchair, I giggled along to the SpongeBob episode lighting up the TV screen, delighted to have the house to myself. Mom and Dad were enjoying a well-deserved date night across town while I, newly minted 13-year-old, got to bask in coveted only child freedom for the evening. As SpongeBob and Patrick jiggled through another absurd undersea escapade, I sunk deeper into the cushioning embrace, letting the colorful antics lull me toward drowsiness. My chuckling soon slowed to occasional sleepy exhales as drooping eyelids struggled to follow the animated hijinks. I hadn't realized just how exhausting the thrill of unsupervised independence could be on an 8th grader unused to so much appetizing liberty. Just as I started to drift off, a sharp crack jolted me upright. I scanned the shadowy living room, heart pounding as the TV's shrill laughter mocked me. Had I dreamed that blunt thump piercing the calm night air? I strained my ears over the ambient can studio guffaws, just making an odd scuffling sound. Muted curses reached my ears in a string of crude, muttered whispers. Unease flooded my veins. We hardly ever got prowlers out here in our quiet suburb, the most action being the occasional raccoon or stray cat in trash cans. Muting the TV, I tipped into the front window, a chill already crawling up my neck. The dim glow of the street lamps outside did little to pierce the inky blackness blanketing our front lawn. Squinting hard past my own ghostly reflection, I searched for the source of disruption. A shadowy figure appeared, vaulting clumsily up and over our back wooden fence in a tangle of long limbs. He cleared the top, then crashed down in a heap into our grass. I jumped back behind the curtains as he righted himself with a grunt and stood swaying. From his height and width he appeared fully adult, not some adventurous teen. Inky darkness obscured any identifiable clothing or features. My lungs constricted as he lurched closer along the perimeter of backyard fences, keeping to the shadows. Why was a fully grown man traipsing through residential yards this late at night? No innocent explanation made sense. As he drew nearer, the spare glow from the streetlights glinted off his face. A cruel, predatory expression sent ice coursing down my spine. As he crept steadily along the fence line, my mind spun wild scenarios. What did he want? Why was he traversing backyard to backyard only to halt specifically at mine? I couldn't fathom why an ordinary suburban, dad-age guy dressed normally enough would be furtively trespassing through sleepy family homes after nightfall. Crouching frozen and hidden from view, I watched him test the back door handle with casual entitlement but find it securely locked. Next he moved toward a living room window, cupping hands to peer inside for any movement, any glimmer of occupants or valuables left unattended. At this point I see realization took hold. His intentions were not aimless or harmless after all. Hardly daring to breathe, I crab-walked backwards toward the kitchen, keeping low in case his roving eyes caught any flicker through the window. My shaking fingers struggled to unlock Mom's emergency phone from its wall-mounted charging cradle. Every fumbling noise rang piercingly loud as I strained to hear the intruder outside. Muffled banging noises soon punctured the wall right behind me, crunching thumps that could only be the brew ramming forcefully into my family's back door seeking sanctuary, or something far more sinister from within our once cozy walls. Acrid bile flooded my mouth as dry heaves threatened. No, no, no. How could this be happening to our home while parents who promised safety were distracted miles away sipping wine? At last I grasped the slick phone, nearly dropping it twice in my sweat-slicked grip as the battering at the door grew frenzied and desperate. Gasping through barely parted lips, I choked out the emergency dispatcher's greeting, then pleaded hoarsely for help from the savage kicks, causing picture frames nearby to rattle violently askew. Before the stoic voice could even confirm my location, an earth-splitting crack resounded, followed by the unmistakable creak of a breached door swinging wide. A wail caught raggedly in my throat as I heard heavy footsteps thump twice over debris. My flooded mind lamented Mom's precious kitchen in ruins while I still crouched, paralyzed just around the corner, feverishly begging the dispatcher to send help. Oh God, please hurry. Just then came the deafening reverberation of exploding glass as the rock-chunking sounds grew closer along the wall toward my quivering form, concealed only by thin drywall. His snarling grunts of effort told me the stubborn back door had been no fluke. This invader sought entry, shelter, and spoils by any means necessary. The dispatcher directed me to flee upstairs immediately while help raced toward me as red and blue guardians of justice. Numbly, I registered her firm words, promising protection in minutes if I could just hide from harm. Some buried autopilot instinct propelled my legs up one stairwell, then the next on wobbly feet. But I paused at my parents' bedroom doorway, nausea threatening again. Just leave, just go, a voice urged as I stared helplessly down the staircase to ruin and violation below. Before despair fully clamped its clammy hands, screeching tires rounded the street corner as flashlights bobbed urgently toward my location, yelling clear directives for the villain inside to exit with hands raised. Within seconds, the pounding footstep changed direction, barreling not toward me but back the way they'd come. After clattering crashes signaling a return vault over fences that could scarcely match frantic escape adrenaline, an eerie blanket of silence smothered the ravaged rooms. Neighbors poured onto sidewalks, gaping as the filthy, bleeding perp emerged, rageful, and spitting from beneath a rhododendron 2 yards down to be tackled fiercely. I nearly collapsed as relief doused my system at long last, watching justice apprehend the monster now skulling prone on tidy suburban grass that had callously obscured such creeping danger for who knows how long. Thanks for listening in. If you like these stories and want to hear more, then please subscribe and like and support this new channel. We have more stories for you to listen to.